you, Justice. Roll call, please.
Moreno,
Here.
Director Basket,
Here.
Director Clayton,
Here.
Director Adams, Director Brown.
Here. Thank you. Moving on to item number 1, minutes of the regular meeting held August 10th, 2023.
Make a motion to approve is written.
No second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to item number 2, committee reports.
Mr. President, we have no committee reports.
Moving on to item number 3, general managers report.
I wanted to just give you a little update on the conference that Terry and I attended last week called Takeoff, Air Service Development. We met with 3 airlines. It was supposed to be 4, but there was due to illness, 1 dropped out. Those folks that already know us, so it's okay. But we had really productive conversations, really very positive. Nothing's imminent. I think as much the issues are with the airlines and the industry as it is. I mean, we're still standing here ready and waiting for them. So I think it's just a matter of time. And in the interim, we're building relationships and communicating with them so they know what we have to offer and that we're ready to serve them. Second item is we've been awarded best of from the Sun as the best place to view art.
All right.
So something you take some pride in.
I don't know, maybe to take that with a grain of salt. They said I was the best law firm, so you didn't have an issue with that, so. I don't know if it is to listen.
Official, what we do.
It's official.
So that's all I have.
Thank you for that. Moving on to item number 4, manager of finance and administration report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I provided the demand register for your review and approval.
Make a motion to approve the register and submit.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Oh,
71834 is a bill.
71834.
Yeah, for claim 6,955.01 says air show.
We are going to bill them and they are going to pay for that.
Perfect. Good.
Okay, we did have a second, so all in favor?
Aye.
Other items under my agenda are informational only, unless you have questions.
Moving on to item number 5, public session. Statements from the floor will be heard during public session. Request to speak forms are provided for those wishing to address the board. After completing the form, please give it to the clerk. Requests requiring board action will be referred to staff and brought on the next appropriate agenda. Members of the public are cordially invited to speak on agenda items as they occur. Staff reports covering agenda items are made for review in the office of the general manager on the Tuesday prior to each meeting. The board will establish a time limit for receipt of testimony, in this case 3 minutes. The board reserves the right to establish further time limits for receipt of testimony. Not having public session. All right, moving on to item number 6, presentation by me on the EAA AirVenture Oshkosh Client Information. Here. So AirVenture report. So I wrote down something really quick. Here's a report of my findings after spending a week representing San Antonio Airport at EAA AirVenture, the largest general aviation trade show in the world. First and foremost, it was always a nice surprise to see just how many general aviation folks knew about our airport. A large number of them have either landed here, know someone who is located here, or has seen us on social media through aviation content creators like SoCal Flying Monkey, who hosted a fan flying at the Radisson. Or more recently, our airport being featured in a plane restoration video related flight Cessna 140, who currently has over 2 million followers. The plane having been restored at Arcraft. Secondly, it was great to see members of our airport community there. Although not representing our airport directly, I see them as ambassadors of our airport. Members of our airport that are also building and growing important relationships that directly affect us. I was pleased to see Jolie Lucas's presentation and the crowd she drew on the psychology of flying title into the alligator's mouth. It was nice to see the Arcraft crew and how busy their booth would get with returning and new potential customers, four of which won awards this year for their aircraft's designs and execution. And it was great to see Chris Kunkel speak on a panel to a full audience at the annual event. I connected with the airport directors of both the Appleton and Oshkosh airports this year and got some new ideas on how to bring economic development to our airport. I connected with a number of demo teams such as the F-52 Raptor, U-2 Dragon Lady, F-18 Rhino, and KC-135 demo teams. And most importantly, connected with some out-of-the-area developers, entrepreneurs, and businesses that are very interested in learning more about our airport for future development. So to summarize, I think it was a very successful trip when it comes to relationship building, networking, and idea generation / expansion for our airport. I do not believe the whole week is needed. I did notice a no all after the first 4 days. But I do recommend we do this again next year and have a member of staff join that can assist with questions. Thank you. Any questions before I move on to?
Yeah, I'd like to see a financial report for what this thing costs. Sure. Before it's paid, if possible.
All right.
Awesome.
It's been paid.
What's that?
It's been paid, but I can give you what it costs. Because it happened in July, correct?
Yeah.
So
Okay, that's fine.
All right, moving on to item number 7, presentation by me again on the County Road Summit Conference. So here's a quick report for the DC trip and County UAS Summit. I arrived in DC and checked into the hotel the summit was taking place at the night before the summit. My first impression of the event came during dinner on the attached restaurant. I met attendees of the County UAS Summit, all military, which when I told them I was here representing the public airport, I was given looks of confusion. I was even asked, why are you even here? The next day during the networking portion, there was 0 airport representation of events. The summit started the next day by a representative of the Department of Homeland Security. He gave an overview of what the DHS faces on the borders of US and Mexico with drones. After him was a sales presentation for a geofencing system called Centrix, where you can set up geo borders and with a system of RF transmitters, whenever a class 1 or 2 drone enters the zone, it's instructed to leave the zone or lane, which I honestly can't see airports using in the future. So that was more positive. This system does not work with dark drones, however, since they're dark and designed to not transmit these signals strong enough to be acquired. Now the problem with these starting presentations was it was nothing new and the information is easily found online. One of them was even a sales presentation. After these presentations, the military presentation started. First was another sales presentation for a small and medium-sized radar system. The next one was about military-grade lasers and radars that are mounted on stationary platforms or on HEMTTs, which are the large military trucks, to be mobile platforms. After about 4 hours of the first day of military presentations and videos of high-powered lasers shooting down drones, which arguably was pretty cool, I felt the conference was a waste of time for the airport. Mr. Basket may think otherwise, and he was also representing IES LLC on his event badge. So when I am done, I'll let him speak on his views on the event. But I felt my time could be utilized better. I contacted Tom Woodrow to give me the contact information of Phil Hardy, our airport's DC lobbyist. I contacted Phil and set up lunch meeting with him. We ended up talking for 3 hours where I learned more on what he does, the federal challenges we as an airport are facing, and learning about the people in the DC area making these decisions. We made plans for me to meet and introduce myself to members of Salute Carval staff in our nation's Capitol building and to go over some strategic planning the next day, which is what I ended up doing. I do not recommend the Counter UAS Summit for next year, and given what I heard and saw, I do not recommend we focus on counter UAS items until it actually does become an issue in our industry and there are plausible and affordable solutions. So I'll go ahead and let Mr. Basket fill in or add on if he wants to.
Different impression of the event. I've been to a few of them before. I had some personal discussion with the head of the FAA who's concerned about airports and drones. And he asked some questions. He asked, we're at 139 airport. I said, yes. Yes, we had a tower. I said, yes. We have an operation. Yes. He said, look, here's what you can do. You can protect some of your airport against unwanted and unauthorized drones flying into our airspace. And in essence, we recommended that we select one of the better higher end, because there's some low end ones out there, sensors, the little radars, and put them out and tie them into operations And I make a further recommendation that, sensor or display goes up the tower. He said by doing that, we can eliminate about 80% of the threat. Now, I was not representing the.
I'm sorry, I don't get how that eliminates the threat.
Well, elimination, the chances of collision, from the fact that the tower's got the information.
Oh.
Until the airliner or the aircraft coming in, watch out, there's a drone that we can see on the radar. Display that's half a mile east and moving in such a direction, that's what to do. As far as eliminating or shooting them down, Nash is correct, we do not have the authority yet. That's still held within the DHS and within the FBI. For authority to shut down drones either by physical things or electronic means. But to protect this airport, which has already had 3 drone sightings according to the tower, I talked to them, likely to have more. And my observation of the reports were that the threats of the drones are growing. They're growing much more rapidly than the ability to handle them. There's something like 130% increase in near misses and some hits. Well, there was a near miss just the other day with the helicopter down there in Rome. So I believe that by taking these steps and putting out an RFPs for reasonably cost sensors that can detect drones out to 1 or 2 kilometers, or about the length of the runway around the area, we can improve the safety at this airport and reduce the probability of collision with incoming aircraft and maybe save lives. That's my recommendations. I was not representing LLC. That was a carryover from some earlier year. I was there simply as a director of this airport concerned about this issue, and met personally with the head of the FAA division that was concerned about this also. And I also met with Artie, and a nice lunch with him for a couple of hours reviewing the situation, which indicates we're in a crunch right now and we won't deal with that at this time. But I have a different view because as a former officer who is in charge of airport security, responsible for 10 control towers, I think that we should be forward-looking and take care of what's coming rather than wait until we have burning bodies and flaming fuel out here on the runway. So that's my report. But thank you for the opportunity.
Question, did any of you hear anything about the radio wave gun that they got, that they're making out of Ukraine, that brings the drones down? It's kind of, it's like a box almost, but it looks kind of like a gun.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
hit it on the drones.
they have them there, but it's the same, you need drones. I mean, I can't justify getting a gun or even setting up
No,
a airport with sensors or anything like that for, we've had what, 3 drone reportings. Even the, Department of Homeland Security was saying that they're not even against drones. Like they understand that it's the future, and they're trying to figure out like how to actually, set the laws and set the certifications correctly and everything like that. So they're already working on setting all that stuff up and with remote ID and everything. So I think it's just a non-starter for us to even stress about that at the moment when we have so many other things going on. Let's wait until this industry develops further, and then we can look into it.
Do we have radar out there right now on the airport that detects anything flying in at this moment?
Airplanes.
Only
Because
because
you haven't seen the big dish out by
Or
town.
does it detect, would it detect?
I mean, even the small ones would.
Drones.
The small ones would detect them as birds. It would just, it's dependent on the radar that I'm sensors, the geofencing. It's dependent on the drone coming in, and if it's even transmitting the right signals, like it's not.
But as it stands right now, do we have the capability to say, hey, we have a drone out there because we see it on our radar?
Only if you see it in binoculars, I'm assuming. From
Or it
the top.
looks like a bird.
It's like a bird on the radar. But that was also the problem they were having. half of the presentations that I saw were about like, oh, well, we're finally getting close to determining if it's a bird or a drone on our radars. So it's like,
the additional comment. There was a report, a meeting, you probably missed it, that they had gone out, organization had gone out, checked the security of the airfield. apparently a mid-sized one. And they had found 79 in a very short period of time, drones that had intruded in the airspace of the airfield, not detected by operators or visual things. I have a difference because of my background, military background, security background. I'm worrying about somebody having an accident here with a drone. My view is we should take reasonable steps at reasonable cost to protect this airport against drones. So one morning, you don't find smoking remains out here, people in an airplane got hit by a drone. That's my view, and I'll stay with it.
If I could ask, what would be the cost of putting up that, geofencing or whatever around it? What would be the cost of putting up the ones that you guys saw on that conference?
The most advanced one there had just been introduced from Israel, and an American company called, it's a very famous Israeli company, which has got a lot of problem with drones coming in from across the, from the Muslim side. I'll remember the name in a minute, but they were running at the same price as other commercial ones, about $150,000 per panel. And a panel is a radar set, that's called, it's not the sweeping radar like we have out here with the incoming aircraft radar. It's a phased array radar, and then taking a clean sheet, they give a full technical report on it. They can detect a small drone out here at the far edges of our airport, very small drone. Others cannot. And so they.
Those are, it'll only find class 1 and 2 drones, which are the commercial drones, which already have geofencing built into it. If you buy a DJI drone today and try to fly it at the airport, it'll tell you restricted zone, you cannot fly here, and it won't let you start up the drone. I know this because I have one. So these systems are right now can find class 1 or 2 commercial drones, which are the ones that already have all that safety stuff already built into it. The dark drones, they were even like, well, we can't even find the dark drones because they're not transmitting on the same signals. So it's just to get a system like this right now, there's no point. There's no point.
Well, I have a different view as having had to defend places and take care of them.
Before we get in on the track here.
Yeah, but I have a different view, and the company's name, by the way, is Elbit, E-L-B-I-T, and they have the ability right now to detect dark drones at a reasonable distance that have no electronic emissions and no electronic intercepts in order to provide them guidance. It's what they're called dark drones.
Okay.
So, okay, anyway, it's a board decision, but I make a strong recommendation that we do reasonable things to protect this airport. Well, we have airlines coming in, we want more airlines coming in, we don't want to get by a drone, either dark drone or somebody making a mistake.
We get the same report I asked on the last meeting by director on the expenses on this prior to, before the pay.
Actually, yes, you will have to approve them because, Director Basket, is going to be reimbursed for his expenses. So it'll come through the demand register and you can review the receipts at that time. But yes, I will give you a report.
So
Friday.
it'll only be in the demand register. Or it will be.
No, I can give you a report,
Okay, all right.
but the approval of it, you will have control over that.
Okay.
All right, any more questions?
No, and again, I repeat, I was there for report business. And it's not representing IES policy.
Moving on to item number 8, closed session. So,
I think we have something here with, or
we're into closed session. We'll be starting a closed session.
Good.
Exit closed session with no report of actions. Moving on to item number 9, director's comments. And let's go ahead and start with, Steve there.
A couple things I would like to take and bring the two things up. One is the YouTube videos that we're doing that you can't understand. I think we need to bring that to the board to a meeting, discuss what we're gonna do. Either get it where you can hear or eliminate it because I think we have a liability. And the second thing I'd like to see come back onto the agenda is the drone thing, because I'd like to bring that up so we can get that, put that to bed permanently, so we're not feeding that to school.
I don't know, no comment this evening. All right. My comment is, today I met with the Open Street organizers. There's a Open Street event in October. I think we should definitely attend it. I mean, the fire department's gonna be there, the police department's gonna be there. A whole bunch of businesses, around Santa Maria gonna be there. So, yeah, we have Airfest as well coming up soon. I believe, we have some spare tickets too that we could probably, what they're looking for is activities, so we can have some, activities that we can engage the public in doing and then, provide them with, Airfest tickets, like, oh, congratulations, you won an Airfest ticket. Kind of thing. So we'll definitely talk more about that in the future, and, that's my.
No comment.
I have a few. First of all, as drones are a threat, they're a growing threat, and we should not be blind to it. We should take reasonable actions to protect aircraft landing and taking off here. Enough of that for now. I appreciate accurate information. There was a statement made, I think it was recorded, that the barriers were put up because of COVID and now been taken down because COVID is over. The correction of that, my recollection, is the barriers were put up because the gentleman was here in a wheelchair and wanted to come up closer. And there was objection by Josh to be closer, so the barriers were put up. If that's incorrect, then correct me. But other things more important. Owner-built hangars. There's initial interest in getting owner-built hangars. And I'm putting together information, a collection of names, and have some information for owner-built hangars. They can be built, and after some years, they become airport property. The approximate, I got the cost now for concrete, for erecting them, and for the hangars in a box, for the 3,000 square foot hangars. So I'll work with anybody here on the board to move that ahead and see if we can get more hangars on this airport for more aircraft. And as far as expense reports, I'd like to see Steve Brown. So he's been out on some travel. This is my first time that I've gone out on airport expenses. So I'd like to see Steve Brown and exchange information on that. That's all I've got. Okay.
Moving on to item number 10, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.